Good morning and welcome to Stand Up for Jehovah. We're going to talk about New Light today. The New Light doctrine states that it's a progressive understanding of truths, that it gets closer and closer to the truth. Now, that's an interesting analogy, but is that the truth? Let's have a look at one of the doctrines and see. My favourite one is the resurrection of the men of Sodom. 1879, they will be resurrected. 1952, they won't be resurrected. 1965, they will be resurrected. And then 1988, they won't be resurrected. That's not a progressive understanding. That's like a 10-year-old switching the light on and off until you want to punch him in the face. You know, you can get epilepsy from that kind of strobe lighting. And is it important really? Well, I think the men of Sodom is important for two reasons. One, it gives you license to say Sodom in Kingdom Hall over and over again. And secondly, it was the basis of a lot of discussions about whether Hitler would get resurrected, for instance, or whether your granddad would get resurrected because he smoked. And so it was quite important to us. And that's what apostates traditionally call a flip-flop argument. It doesn't get brighter and brighter. It just goes on and off and on and off. Another analogy that the witnesses use to explain new light is the scripture in Proverbs, which says the light gets lighter and lighter until the day dawns. That's a nice analogy. You can kind of see that happening on a morning, can't you? But again, is that what really happens? Let's have a look at another doctrine. Who are the higher powers of Romans 13:1? 1916, the higher powers were the governments. Oh, bad. In 1943, the higher powers were Jehovah and Jesus. Oh, good. In 1964, the higher powers were the governments. Oh, bad. Again, that's like the sun. It's not getting brighter and brighter. The sun's going, am I in? Am I out? Am I in? Am I out? In, out, shake it all about. You do the okey cokey and you turn around. That's not progressive understanding. So I want to know this. What's the difference between new light and a lie? Let's take an example. Mum, what's for tea? Fish and chips, son. Tea comes out. Mum, this isn't fish and chips. This is spam and mashed potatoes. New light. Okay. Let's take another example. Charles Taze Russell in court, under oath. Do you read Greek? Yes. Here's some Greek. Would you like to read it? Oh, new light. No, I don't read Greek. To me, that's a lie, not new light. A lie is when you say something that's opposite to the truth. You can't just go, oh, new light. It's not a lie at all. Now, I'm a teacher. I know you find that hard to believe. And this is exactly the same argument that students use with me when I catch them out lying. They go, oh, I was joking. Right, Michael, have you done your homework? Yes. No, you haven't, have you? Joking. No, Michael. A joke is when you say something and then everybody laughs. A lie is when you say something and it's the opposite to the truth. Now, I'm fairly pissed off about having to explain that to 10-year-olds, but I'd be majorly pissed off at having to explain that to the governing body. In fact, maybe they should change the doctrine from new light to joking. Okay, so what does the Watchtower say about new light? In the Watchtower 15th of March 2000, page 15 to 20, this is what they said. In modern times, the first real glimmer of light began to appear in the last quarter of the 19th century. And they go on to say, outstanding among Bible students was Russell. Russell was the first glimmer of new light in the modern age. What did Russell himself have to say about light? This is what he said. Very modest man Russell was. He said, if you read my publications for 10 years and then you stop and you just read the Bible for 2 years, you will be in more darkness than if you read my publications for 2 years and you don't read the Bible at all. Wow. He said that you'd be in more light if you read what Russell wrote than if you read what Jehovah wrote. It's as if Jehovah's some kind of bad-tempered, cantankerous old senile git in a care home, and only Russell can tell what he's saying. Jehovah sat there. What's that, Jehovah? What did you say? Russell, he says that pioneers have to do 150 hours in the service selling my books. Did he? Are you sure? I thought he said the custard was cold. What's that, Jehovah? I can't tell what you're saying. Russell goes, he said that you have to worship me as the mother to his father organisation. Did he? I thought he said, get this buffoon away from me. Anyway, there you have it. Russell thought Jehovah was a cantankerous old illegible fool. Let's assume for a minute that the light does get brighter and brighter and doesn't strobe on and off until you've got epilepsy. Here's an example. In a family situation. Mummy, where do babies come from? They come from the stalk, son. A couple of years later. We don't have stalks in our country. Mummy, we don't have stalks in our country. Where do babies come from? Oh, they come from under the gooseberry bush, son. Oh, a couple of years later. I've never seen a gooseberry bush. Mummy, we don't have gooseberry bushes in our garden. Oh, where do babies come from? Well, son, your father and I, we sit on the sofa and hold hands, and your father's seed goes up my cardigan sleeve. Oh, who in their right mind would continually feed their children utter bilge on the excuse that it's getting closer and closer to the truth? And then perhaps when the kid says, Mummy, you really are full of shit, aren't you? The dad goes, well, son, wait on your mother. Just wait on your mother and be patient. She's bound to tell the truth eventually if she talks enough. It's not really the basis of a great relationship, I'm suggesting, is it? Now, I'm going to tell you a couple of my favourite new lights. Okay, here's a great one. The Golden Age, 5th of January 1929, page 502, said about the smallpox vaccination. It sows the seeds of syphilis, cancer, eczema, erysipelas, scrofula, consumption, leprosy. The practice of vaccination is a crime, an outrage, and a delusion. So, Jehovah's Witnesses didn't have the smallpox vaccination. Later on, they said that it was because it was made with blood. Now, sometime before 1952, Ron Fry, who was the question-answering overseer for America, kept getting questions about the smallpox vaccination. And he realised that witnesses were going to quack doctors who were using acid to put a drop of acid on children's legs to make it look like they'd been vaccinated, so that they could legally go to school because it was a law that they had to be vaccinated. And so Ron trotted on down to the smallpox vaccination factory and asked them, where's the blood that you're making these vaccinations from? And they said, what blood? It's made from egg. So Ron Fry wrote back to the society, where he worked, by the way. He actually worked there, but you still have to write to them because they're so important that you couldn't fucking pass them in the corridor and just mention something like a human being, could you? So he wrote to them and said, do you know what? The smallpox vaccinations are made from egg, not blood. And they didn't acknowledge him, and they didn't do anything about it until, and this is from a testimony from Mavis Fry, Ron's wife, until the American government decided that they were going to investigate the doctors who were illegally faking smallpox vaccinations. And then in 1952, in the Watchtower, it was suddenly announced that it was a matter of conscience. That was a great new light. Or a joke, joking, or a lie, as I'd call it, but call me old-fashioned. Here's my other favourite new light doctrine. This happened since I left, so I've had to do some research and go back to laugh at them about this, but it was well worth it. Obviously, when I was a child being brought up in the truth, this generation that saw 1914, that were old enough to appreciate 1914, would by no means pass away until the end came. And then those generations got a bit old, didn't they? So new light, joking! It was the ones that were born in 1914 that will by no means pass away. And then they all passed away. And so here's the absolute pinnacle of poetic new light. The overlapping ones. The overlapping ones. Oh, smooth, wasn't it? Nobody'll notice this. And if they do notice, we'll go, joking, new light. Thank you for listening to another episode of Stand Up for Jehovah.